Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's Seer 365 session. Thank you for braving the heat to join us today. And I'm joined by Carlos, who is the co-CEO and founder at I do apologize for some kind of
Yeah.
issue. Today I am joined by Carlos, who is co-founder and at Embat. Embat is an awesome treasury management tool and works well across a range of different Microsoft instances. To avoid the risk of any further technical hitches from my side, I'll hand over to you, Carlos, to take it away.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. First of all, thanks Rufus and team for having us today. Great to be working together and doing more things together. As you very rightly discussed, today the purpose of the call is for all of you to get a sense of how Embat works together with Microsoft BC, F&O, and other instances to really unlock efficiency and really help our customers be much more efficient when it comes to treasury processes. So first of all, maybe I'll start with, for all of you that don't know us, a quick overview of what Embat is today. We have around the world around 300 customers. We operate in more than 50 countries today. Most of our customers have a global nature or operate in more than one jurisdiction, and that has forced us to sort of build connectivity all around the world. We also run our activities from three key operating hubs. We have a hub in London, a hub in Madrid, and a hub in Munich. Most of our team is based among those three hubs. And right now, to give you a sense of magnitude, those 300 customers more or less make 200 billion euro equivalent flow through Embat. For all of you that, and I should have probably started with this, we have a comments section from your LinkedIn comments and your YouTube comments. So if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, I'm extremely happy to receive them and to answer them because it typically makes it much more engaging. So what do we typically target, or who are our customers? Okay, we've had here, or we've tried to lay out in very simple terms on the left-hand side of the screen a couple of customers who work today, and I'll go a bit through them. And on the right-hand side of the screen, the typical banking partners that they typically work with that we can connect. So our customer is typically, there are a couple of customers there that probably don't qualify at mid-market, but most of our customers are mid-market enterprises who are really looking to upgrade their treasury processes and are really starting to experience the complexity of working in with multiple banking partners and have complex treasury operations. Okay, we obviously have Siemens, Northern Data, and very big companies there, but our typical customer ranges from 50 to 100 million in terms of revenue up to a couple of billion. That's where we operate, and that's where we think we can unlock the most value for them. The typical common trait that most of our customers have, as I said before, is a big volume of transactions or many jurisdictions or many banks. All of those characteristics typically make treasury processes complex. They make them very manual, and we are here basically to try to solve that. On the right-hand side, we have some key banking players in the UK market, but as of today, we have 15K real-time API connections of banks around the world. And that sort of has enabled us to, as I said, serve customers in more than 50 countries. So very quickly, and how do you, and here I'm just trying to give you a hand of what do we typically listen from customers when we sort of click the button or the light bulb emerges of Embat being potentially a solution. First thing, obviously, and very important, treasury given the amount of transactions and how processes work, typically becomes very repetitive, right? Whenever you hear a customer that they have issues or they have to sort of treat bank statements or sync bank statements or download bank statements or send payments frequently, because has to be done on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, that typically becomes very repetitive and is one of the pains that we typically start to solve. Going a bit deeper into that specific pain point, as we said, customers, they typically have their own tech stack, right? That centerpiece of the tech stack is typically Microsoft, right? Any sort of ERP from the Microsoft ecosystem, and then you can have different sort of satellite systems interacting with Microsoft. But when it typically comes to banks and the tech stack of our business, we typically see a big disconnection between the systems. Some sort of clients have been able to manage that connectivity, but when it comes to really managing real-time visibility, real-time reporting, and aggregating all of that banking information into one single platform to really make informed decisions, that typically becomes a pain or is something that is not very well solved. Third part, this more when it typically comes to reconciliations, when it comes to payment processes. We typically speak to customers as well, which are relatively worried or have this constant feeling of risk, right? They have a payment process that they don't fully trust. There's manual sort of manipulation of payment files. There's manual uploads or downloads into banks of payment files. And obviously, when a human meets a file, there's always a human error possibility or a fraud possibility. So bulletproofing those processes and really upgrading them to really secure and end-to-end automated processes is something that typically resonates well with customers. And then lastly, and this more for probably a treasury view, probably even the CFO view, as we said, not having that information in one single platform typically means that decisions are late or information is not ready for when decisions have to be taken. So building that connectivity is typically paramount for these businesses. So what do we offer at Embat? And we started being just a software, but we slightly sort of changed our approach lately, and we start talking about Embat being a treasury ecosystem or only one solution that allows businesses to really overcome or to really target that end goal, which is building the best treasury processes or the more scalable processes, right? For that, in our opinion, you really need three things. First thing you need global banking connectivity. So you need to have access, bi-directional accesses to your banks. That means receive information and also push information to the banks. Then you have to have an interface that can very easily and real time as well collaborate with your ERP, in this case, Microsoft Business Central, to make sure that anything that happens in your system and anything that happens in your bank always travels real time from one system to the other. And then what we've laid on top is our sort of AI infrastructure that we call or that we've branded under our name Tell.me. Tell.me benefits both from all of the information we have from a banking side and all the information we have from the system side or the ERP side to really excel or to really make the treasurers and the finance teams of our product be 10 times better at their job. So with this, we basically will go very quickly to describe what we actually do in each one of them. And then at the end, we will have a short demo and short videos of each of the specific sections for all of you to get a bit of a feel of how Embat looks and feel. But obviously, with the idea of it becoming interesting for you, and then hopefully diving deeper into each model when we get there. Okay, what do we mean when we say we have global banking connectivity? Embat, as of today, is a API first or real-time phase first connectivity platform. That means that if our customer operates with banks that offer API connectivity, it can be proprietary connectivity, it can be open banking connectivity. There are many types of connectivities around the world. We will recommend or we will favor building that API connectivity. You'll see now in a second in the demo. We do this because the time to value to get that information synced into the system is typically much faster. And secondly, the user access real-time information. We always say that probably treasury and treasury departments are the departments within the finance team that would benefit the most of having real-time information. They have to issue payments every single day. They have to issue urgent payments. They have to take financing decisions. There's many decisions that are taken intraday that sometimes just having information from T-1 or T-2 is just not enough. Obviously, unfortunately for us, the global banking infrastructure is not ready today for sort of full API connectivity. So Embat also offers a fallback option into more traditional file-based connectivity with all of these systems. Okay, we obviously have Swift connectivity, we can build host-to-host connectivity, and we also operate in certain markets that offer standardized banking connectivity, such as EBIX, Editran, BACS, or any other sort of system. So again, the whole goal here is we always analyze the banking pool of the customer, and we come up together with a potential solution favoring real-time connectivity first. But if that is not possible, we can always fall back as well into the file-based connectivity. Next point is we don't only consume the information. Something that our customers really like about us is the fact that we expose that information and we standardize that banking information for them, for that information to be easily accessible in our interface through downloadables or also through our API. That means that many of our customers not only build reports and dashboards inside Embat, but then sync Embat into their reporting tools, and they can also access real-time treasury information in their Power BI tool or any other tool that they use. Again, this information is standardized by Embat, which means that they don't have to connect 7, 8, 9 different APIs. We do that for them, and we serve that in a standardized schema for them to consume. This also is a possibility with ERPs themselves. We've built or we have a native connectivity with traditional Microsoft instances such as Navision or AX. We've also sort of obviously have native connectivity with F&O and with Business Central. But in any point in time, if you also want to get that information and export it, that raw data into a accounting system, we can do that as well. And then lastly, and this is a product that has been very recently launched to the market, we have Embat One, which is our own proprietary banking infrastructure. Okay, we are able to collect, to hold, and to pay globally in more than 120 currencies. And we do this by partnering very closely with some of our banks or some of our partner banks, which that integration, that partnership has become even stronger. And we are even able to natively integrate in our platform account opening processes, payment processes, collection processes, and anything you would do on a banking interface, you could do in Embat as well, embedded into your TMS.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, very important, and just to summarize this connectivity, what we try to bring with Embat is a system that takes your existing banking pool, we analyze it, we make sure it covers your existing needs, and if that is not the case, we can also give you access to a complementary or additional banking infrastructure to really build that banking pool or that global banking pool that your customer needs to collect money, to hold money, and to pay globally.
And just to kind of summarize in terms of just the one step back as well, in terms of the end customers that partners should be on the lookout for, where their Embat would be a good fit, it's where they're already working kind of multinational, multi-currency, multi-banks, and they need to kind of consolidate that into the one platform.
Yeah, exactly. That is typically the pain point we see. Although, Rufus, when there's customers that have complex collection processes, complex payment processes, or any complex treasury operation, maybe the volume or the geographical breadth is not there, but the complexity is already there. Actually, this is kind of funny. At the beginning, Tony and myself, which we've been discussing a lot about this, had kind of different views if our platform was more favored for B2B businesses or B2C. Right now, 53% of our customers are B2C and 47% are B2B. So we still have not been able to answer that question.
Which side were you on?
I was on the B2C side because I thought volume was more complex, but turns out that the payment and collection terms in the B2B area can also get very, very complex.
Excellent.
Great. So that was the first part, right? That's our connectivity bit, and that's how we solve it. Next part we have is our interface, our software. This is an on-cloud software, and this is natively integrated into Business Central, into Dynamics, and into all of the sort of Microsoft systems. We try to draw it like this because we think it's very visual. We just sit in the middle of all of the banking relationships of our customers and the accounting system, and we try to automate the processes that happen among those two systems. I've talked a lot about banks, but there's a big part of a platform as well, and that we see a lot of appetite from our customers on the PSP connectivity as well. So it's not only working with financial institutions, we can also work with offline and online PSPs, such as Stripe, PayPal, Adyen, Checkout, and all of these sort of different service providers, payment service providers that our customers use to collect money from their existing customers, and that typically generate a lot of reconciliation headaches. I'm sure all of you have experienced this with your customers. And what does their platform do? Again, we will look at a couple of videos shortly, but basically we cover the full spectrum of what a finance team or treasury team would expect from a TMS, all from an embedded platform. We have different sort of modules where you can see the Tell Me tag, and this is where we believe that the way we've built the module and the integration with Tell Me, our AI analyst, really makes a difference in how those modules actually perform and how those customers actually use those modules. We start with pure cash visibility and reporting. That's just making sure you have real-time access to your cash information. You can take those decisions. You can build your custom reports. And what Tell Me helps you there is to really get to the next level of insights of what the data is telling you. We don't only plug the information in front of you, we also allow you to gather those insights and gather transactions that may not be as common or transactions that shouldn't have happened very, very easily. We then move into the forecasting bit. That's where the integration with Microsoft is so critical. We gather information from Microsoft. We make Tell Me work for you and analyze your historical information. And with that, we allow you to build very, very accurate cash flow forecasting for the next days, weeks, or months. Again, the benefit of working with a system that builds an AI infrastructure in the bottom is that we sort of continuously learn from customer behavior, from our customers' behavior, etc. And we are able to actually allow them to build or to improve their treasury forecast and their treasury automation accuracy very, very much during the course of the platform. We then have an intercompany module. Most of our companies, as we said, they operate in different jurisdictions or have complex legal entities. That means that there's a lot of intercompany invoices, there's a lot of intercompany money flows, there's intercompany loans, there's many of those. And again, the treasurer has to, at any point in time, have full visibility of what those intercompany balances are, if they accrue interest, what the accrued interest is. And then they want to also automate the posting or the GL posting of all of those intercompany transactions into the system. That's something that our intercompany module does automatically. Have a counterparty management module focused primarily on two use cases, getting full visibility of your client's collection behavior. So what your DSO are, what your DPO is, what your client aging is. That information, again, combines Microsoft information with bank information to make sure we give the full 360 view of those customers, how those are trending over time. And then also on the payment or the beneficiary payment details collection, we've also included inside our counterparty management module the ability to manage and securely control all of your payment details. Again, in combination with Microsoft, we run an additional layer of data validation, an additional layer of automation and of screening to make sure that your payments, or when you make a payment, you actually are making the payment to the person you think you are making the payment, and that the payment details of that specific beneficiary is correct. I'm going very fast, but I want to obviously leave a bit of time for the videos at the end. So please bear with me. Then probably two of our star modules, bank statement reconciliation and PSP reconciliation. Again, our AI analyst removes all of the typical hassle that we see in businesses of having to go to take the bank statement from a banking portal, downloading that, having to import that manually into Microsoft, then have to assign sort of the GL accounts or the booking entries for each of those, having to settle or reconcile those pending ARs or APs automatically. We have a system that typically to our customer, 93 to 96% of their bank transactions or PSP transactions are automatically booked into their GL and then reconciled with the bank statement. A lot of time saving, a lot of error saving in those modules. And again, a system that continuously understands or continuously learns from the behavior of the customer to make that percentage of automation continue to increase over time. Cash optimization, big topic for treasury teams, right? Big, again, banking pools, many different sort of excess cash and cash needs in different legal entities. Just being able to allocate that cash automatically or being able to build intelligent cash allocation across entities and across accounts to optimize interest income and to reduce interest expense is something that our cash optimization brings to customers, and that really has a direct P&L impact in our businesses. We sometimes very closely discuss with customers, and obviously platform brings a lot of time saving and a lot of error saving, which is sometimes very rarely quantifiable or very intangibly quantifiable. This cash optimization, we typically do back testing as well, and we sort of can prove to the customer how much money they can save by intelligent allocating cash where the cash has to go to.
And that's massive, isn't it? That can be an absolute deal winner when you can actually point to, here is some of your ROI from using these solutions.
Exactly. And it all adds up, right? Because there's obviously intangible ROI that treasury and finance teams are looking for, which is they really want to build these scalable processes. They really want to make sure that is kind of error-free. But when you come and you really have also tangible ROI in terms of P&L impact, that definitely helps a lot in the conversation and when selling to customers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then last but not least, our debt management module and our payments factoring module. On the debt management side, treasurers need to control all of their sort of liquid assets. They need to have their cash visibility. They need to take decisions. They have to do the same on the debt side. They have to make sure they have their current and non-current liabilities in control. They have to understand how that is going to evolve over time. And more importantly, they have to understand what the impact of the debt is going to be on your future cash flow. Because obviously those debt typically associate debt obligations. So our debt management module basically automates a lot of the debt accounting process, the debt reconciliation process, and having that debt monitoring and control processes in place. And then payment factory, that's different sort of or completely different direction to what we discussed before. Most of these modules suck information or feed information from banks and then are sort of delivered through our interface or delivered through our API to the customer or sent into a Microsoft system. Payment factory moves the other way around. Basically, we take information from Microsoft, all of those invoices or documents that have to be paid. We allow customers to also add any intercompany or any treasury payment they have to do, any advance payment that doesn't have a document. And then when all of the payments are in one single platform, we allow them to run a centralized payment process and reconciliation process that is equivalent through all of their banks. So if you think about customers that have paid from 7 banks, they typically end up with 7 different payment processes, very messy, very hard to control. What we do is we bring back centralization, we bring back a unified process, and we allow them to pay through any of their banks from one single platform, and the whole prepayment and post-payment process is exactly the same no matter where you pay from.
That could be a massive time saving, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's on the interface side. So we have the connectivity side, we have the interface side, and then lastly but not least, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but we have Tell Me. Tell Me, as we said, we've sort of given it birth and we've called it our AI treasury analyst. It lives inside the platform. And most importantly, Tell Me has learned from the 300 customers that we currently have. It doesn't learn only from their data, but it learns to analyze patterns. It learns to analyze how bank statements are posted into Microsoft. It learns as well how to detect anomalous transactions. It's learned as well how typically different types of businesses build their forecast, when there's a source, when there's a different source. There's many patterns in the day-to-day treasury operations that are relatively similar across different businesses. So it's like having an analyst who doesn't dream of having an analyst that have worked in 300 different companies, has understood 300 different processes, and can really get into your own business and start helping you automate and improve those processes. That's kind of what our vision and our mission is for Tellme, which is our AI helper inside our platform. I haven't seen any questions yet. Again, encourage you guys, if there's any questions, just please pop them through. Let us know. Happy to answer any of them. Otherwise, for the last bit of the session, we've included as well 5 different small clips for you to get a glance of what sort of the different models look like. I'll let the clip run. I'll do a brief explanation after each one of them. But obviously, please feel free to interrupt me and add any questions from here onwards.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll start with our banking connectivity.
So this is showing all of the different connections into some different major banks.
Correct. And here, after building that connection, the user can select which sort of company each of those financial products are synced into, and then connecting.
So watching that sort of brings me on to one of the questions I had for you, Carlos. Are you able to talk a little bit about, from a partner or an end customer point of view, what kind of time investment needs to be put aside for installing and configuring Embat?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it almost seems like we're prepared, because actually this is one of the key points or key differentiators, I would say, from what Embat brings to more traditional treasury automation platforms that we can see there, right?
Okay.
What we've just seen, if you put it in front of a 45-year-old or 40-year-old treasurer and telling them that in 30, 45 seconds, which is exactly what you say, you can actually have your HSBC accounts integrated into your TMS, they would tell you that that's a complete lie. When you think about host-to-host connectivity, I'm sure many of us have experienced that. When you think about building more file-based connectivity or ad hoc connectivity with a bank, 6-8 weeks, probably the fastest that can make it. Technology has advanced. Banks have had to sort of keep up with technology, and being able to, again, natively be connected to Business Central and F&O and the Microsoft landscape, and natively being connected to the banks, allows our time to value to shrink 4 or 5 times versus more traditional players. Every partner, and probably many of you have experienced, when you talk about a treasury system implementation, you're typically talking at the fastest 8 months, 12 months maybe to do that. Our typical or our average Microsoft implementation is between 9 to 12 weeks instead of months. So that's a bit of a range. It obviously depends on the amount of modules and obviously the scope of the implementation. But that is definitely a game changer when it comes to ROI, because obviously setup costs are according to the time you actually time to implement, and the building that internal business case of the amount of time you save, the amount of errors you save, versus the actual cost of the platform becomes much more appealing to what typically systems used to have before.
Yeah, and I mean, we just saw in that video that was what, 30 seconds, if that.
Yeah, 30 seconds. That's more or less what it typically takes.
Excellent.
There we go. Slideshow that again. Okay, next part, our reporting module.
So I think you mentioned this earlier, Carlos, but these are the kind of screens that would traditionally be used by like CFOs, some of the kind of senior leadership of a business, where they just want to get that quick top-down view in terms of the finances, treasury, literally where their cash is.
Exactly, exactly. And actually, this last part is actually the availability of that information, not only inside Embat, but outside of Embat, which is that sharing function that we've built, which
Yep.
means what we typically see on the reporting side is you have an internal treasury or finance team that consumes the information in their day-to-day to make financing decisions, make investment decisions, make payment decisions. But then you have reporting duties to management teams. You also have reporting duties sometimes to boards, depending on the business. What Embat allows you is to give that flexibility, but most importantly, it never compromises automation. That means that the biggest part typically of building treasury report is gathering the data. We gather the
Mhm.
data automatically for you, but there are many businesses, or when you gather that data from the bank, typically the data you gather is not enriched. So you end up manually having to do stuff in worksheets or in Excel files, and then from there you move into a PPT, and then you send it to someone or do that, right? We wanted to automate that end-to-end process. So we gather the data automatically. We have real-time reports available for you, and then you can automate the sharing of that report to any external or any other stakeholder to make sure that that reporting function is less of an admin burden, and you can really focus on analyzing the numbers and taking those day-to-day decisions to improve the business.
Very nice.
Great. There we go. Next one. As we said, cash visibility. Now we're going into the future, not only understanding what my cash position is right now, but what my cash position will be in the next days, weeks, or months.
So it's doing this based off of kind of your scheduled payments and things. Is it also building in kind of previous experience in terms of usage?
Yeah. If we go back, you can see now there's different. We've actually shown this with Business Central. Rufus, if you give me 1 second just for.
I have returned. Apologies.
No worries. I was just saying that I'll quickly explain, but here we're just showing how the two systems are synced one with the other. So imagine your accounting system on the left-hand side is working and he just recorded a new AP. The treasurer automatically real-time receives that AP into Embat. That AP is automatically categorized and it's automatically enriched. And that AP automatically flows into your forecast. Same when you settle an APR and AR. Where we see many of our businesses struggling is when you don't have that real-time sync between the two systems. When you try to build cash flow reporting outside of the sort of Microsoft environment, it does that. But to your point, it's exactly the same. So the philosophy behind how forecasting is treated in Embat is whenever we have a source for that forecast, we go and fetch the source and we integrate that source. But there are many, unfortunately, there are many categories where treasurers have to actually forecast without a real source of what that is actually going to be. And that's where our Tell Me functionality and our AI really help to analyze historical patterns, analyze historical trends, and then try to project forward what the most likely scenario is for such categories such as bank fees, tax settlements, salary payments, where you don't typically have a document or a real source where you can actually go and fetch that information from. Whoop. There we go. So debt management module, as we said, not only cash, but also debt product in Embat. You can sort of register any kind of debt product that you have in your balance sheet as a liability. And then for each of those debt products, you don't only have the same reporting as you have in the cash, but you also have the ability to introduce your future debt obligations or debt amortization schedules. And that generates also a lot of synergies between the cash flow forecasting bit, obviously, but also on your debt reconciliation and the debt posting into Microsoft.
And again, on that point, I mean, all of this information, this is kind of being fed back. The end result is being fed back into Business Central, back into F&O,
Exactly.
and any kind of Microsoft ERP.
Exactly. The whole benefit is that any action you perform in Embat or any reconciliation action we perform in Embat is automatically fed back into Business Central, and without human intervention, or F&O, sorry, without human intervention, anyone can look at that. Here we're just basically showing how when I upload a debt amortization schedule, I automatically get the future cash outflows on each of those categories based on those debt amortization schedules as well, which is typically a part that the treasurers have to integrate manually into the forecast because they don't really have a source where to look at that for.
I was just thinking when I was watching this, I know too many businesses out there that are using, even Excel at the moment for tracking things as important as this.
Yeah. And then here we're also showing how you can even book those debt payments or GL payments into Business Central through our accounting model. We will see it very, very quickly.
Brilliant.
That's our accounting and reconciliation model. It's tell me based and it's rule based. So if the user wants to configure specific rules for certain bank transactions, they can configure, and they can also configure what the actual posting on Business Central would be for that specific transaction. And then the same can be done through Tell Me. If you don't want to configure the rules, Tell Me would do them automatically for you.
And I mean, you mentioned Tell Me can set some of this up automatically. Do you provide information, documentation to partners and end customers in terms of how best to use the Embat platform?
Yep. On the implementation, we obviously have implementation managers who are dedicated to make sure that the platform gets up and running, both on the partner side, if they want to get sort of a better understanding of the system, but and on the customer side. And then obviously all of that comes with a lot of documentation and a help center where you can really dive into each specific use case and get the most out of it.
Excellent.
Great. I think we have one last. Oops. Oh, a couple of them left. That's our payments part. So same integrated. I build a new approval flow. I can build approval flows, simple approval flows, or I can build the complex approval flows for my payments. I can configure them as required. Once I configure my approval flows, I can set specific payment thresholds or payment property thresholds that trigger each of the different approval flows. In this case, I've set it that any amount greater than 40K requires approval flow. I select all of the synced invoices from Business Central. I select my payment account. I see what the actual approval flow is like. And once it's sent, the batch is created. The preparer can basically see what that approval looks like. And then the approver has a specific approval section where it can see all of the payments. It gets a second factor authentication. And with that, it can submit approvals, which can be both in desktop, and this can also be online access or mobile access to approve. We see many, obviously, approvers of payments that are traveling, that don't really have their laptop at hand. So the experience allows you to do both bulk approvals and approvals from your mobile or from your desktop indistinctly.
That is awesome, and I imagine that's incredibly helpful for people that are attending events, who are traveling often.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I'll go just quickly on the last one to see a couple of things that Tell Me can actually do automatically for us in the platform. So Tell Me actually stands for a very large name, but at the end it did work out to be a good name. Tell Me already can categorize automatically transactions for you. When those transactions are synced from the bank, we look at your historical transactions, we look at your patterns, and we see, and we can also tell you exactly why we are categorizing certain transactions in one way or the other. On the booking or on the accounting side, you can also select a transaction, and Tell Me can automatically suggest what specific open documents or what specific GL account postings that transactions have to work with, or even, which is the last use case that we will see, Tell Me always obviously lets you know why we've done this. And there's the last use case that some of our customers have complex reconciliation flows. You can upload an evidence. You can upload a PDF, an Excel file where you see or that the supplier or customer has given you. And with that, Tell Me automatically reads those from Business Central and can give that information back to the team.
Excellent. No, thank you, Carlos, and really appreciate your time today. I think that's been really nice run through. So we've kind of covered off where Embat fits in kind of existing either implementation or existing customer requirements, some of the different modules that Embat have, and then those run throughs at the end there, which kind of detailed some of the specific functionality as well. Really want to thank you for your time, Carlos. If you do want to get in touch, his email is on screen at the moment. We're also doing another webinar next week, so please do join us then. The link is on the Seer 365 LinkedIn profile, so please check it out there, and we'll be doing some posts shortly about it as well. I am going to wrap this up before my laptop decides to clearly it's suffering in this heat, so we'll give it a bit of a rest. But thank you all, and really appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much, Rufus. Ciao.
Cheers all.